Welcome to the Workology Podcast, a podcast for the disruptive workplace leader. Join host Jessica Miller-Merrill, founder of Workology.com, as she sits down and gets to the bottom of trends, tools, and case studies for the business leader, HR, and recruiting professional who is tired of the status quo. Now here's Jessica with this episode of Workology.
Welcome to the Workology Podcast, sponsored by Workology. I'm all about providing resources and support for HR and workplace leaders, and that includes HR certification. Your HR certification exam is hands down, and I mean hands down, the hardest test you will ever take in your HR career. I've found that with the right support and preparation, you can ace that exam with flying colors. So this is one of the ways that we provide support to the community at Workology. We offer two different courses. The first is ACE the HR exam, and the second is our SHRM Certification Prep course. In addition to these courses, I also work very hard to provide our HR community with the support and resources they need. We go above and beyond. We have a very colorful and active community in a Facebook group that drives a lot of conversations around HR certification. It is a safe space for HR members to connect, share, and collaborate on all things HR certification exam. You can go to Facebook and learn more and just look for HR certification study group. In our last podcast, I shared with you some of our 2020 business plans for Workology, with my focus being on empowering HR leaders in the areas of training, support, and HR certification. I mentioned the two different courses that we have for HR certification support: ACE, the HR exam, and SHRM Certification Prep. So our ACE, the HR exam course, is designed to support HRCI and SHRM certifications. It's an on-demand 8.5-hour online resource course with video lessons, audio, and downloadable resources, including a 600-plus HR glossary and over 180 HR practice questions to help prep you for the exam. You can learn more by visiting the course at acethehrexam.com. The second course is the SHRM Cert Prep course, which I mentioned. We are in partnership with SHRM, and we're one of a few online approved trainers for the SHRM Certification Prep course, which I am so very proud of. We offer the 36-hour SHRM Cert Prep course, and that includes the SHRM learning system online and also in digital form. Sometimes you just got to have those papers in your fingers. My new 2020 SHRM Cert Prep manual actually just arrived while we are recording this podcast right now. You'll have access to all the training classes over 36 hours. These are designed to help you pass the exam, along with our private digital community and resources that continue to provide you support. You can learn more about this offering at shrmcertprep.com. Since the theme we're talking about today on the Workology podcast is all about how to ace the HR exam, I want to talk a little bit more about providing resources and support for those of you who are working towards your HR certification. And I thought it would be best not to just hear from me, but to talk from HR leaders who are both certified and are now instructors helping others to earn their HR certification. The following interviews are interviews from two HR pros who are friends and colleagues that I admire and respect. You'll hear from each of them and their tips and suggestions on how to pass your HR certification exam. The first up is Mark Fogel. He has been on the podcast many times. Mark is a colorful, fun guy. He's a former CHRO, now turned HR consultant, who lives in New York and provides HR support for a variety of businesses while also serving as an instructor and trainer for HR training programs, including the SHRM Certification Prep course. I'll let Mark give you some tips and insights into how to pass your HRCI and SHRM certification exams.
Let's talk about what are the things that like your students, after they take the exam, like wish they knew or wanted to spend more time with on in order to pass.
I would say there's a couple of things, Jessica, that students wish they had a do-over. Growing up, we had do-overs when we were playing sports. We'd play in the football in the street, and the car would come down, and we'd yell, "Stop! Let's do over." Well, you want to have do-overs in life, and with the test prep, the big do-overs that I see for students are, one, really concentrating and reading the material a couple of times. There's this assumption when you take a test prep that you don't have to read the material, or you only have to gloss over the material. So what's right on the tip of your nose and should be obvious to everyone is, no, you actually have to read the material a couple of times, and you have to take notes. And whatever your system, some people have very sticky memory, tacky memory, and other people could read things and 20 minutes later they forgot what they read. So you have to know yourself and know what system works best for you for recall. Not that you have to memorize 2,000 pages of material in the from the prep books for the exams, whether you're taking the junior or senior HR exam. I refer to them as junior and senior, because typically the SCP, or if it's on the HRCI side, the SPHR, typically those individuals have put in several years. I know they have thresholds. I would believe that you should have at least 8 or 9 years in the profession to have the proficiency from a real experience. So one of the mistakes is not studying properly and reading the material. The second, and one that trips up many individuals, is they do not concentrate on understanding what they're being asked in a question. So there's different, depending on the exam you take, there's different amounts of knowledge-based questions and situational questions. The knowledge-based questions oftentimes are straightforward, and you're able to answer them. As you read the question, you know the answer immediately, and you just look for it in the queue of the 4 choices. The situational questions, whether they be single questions or based on information that they provide in a couple of paragraphs prior to asking 2 or 3 questions, you really have to isolate the keywords. What are they actually asking? And then you have to look at the answers, and oftentimes there are 2 potential answers at first glance. So the smart play, if you're not sure, and most of the times you're not sure, is look at the 2 answers that are obviously wrong. And there are tips and tricks that you can learn from good instructors and from being in networking groups and having affiliations like your own organization, your company, where you provide the ability of having some coaching and counseling to say, look at the question and say, if the answers say something that is always, very rarely is something absolute in the HR world. On a knowledge-based question, it is absolute. On a situational question, it oftentimes, if not most of the time, is not an absolute. It's the best answer. So deconstructing questions is critical to success on all the exams, especially the senior exams. So if you're taking the SCP, you have to understand how to deconstruct the question. What are they really asking? What answers can I toss out? And then go back to the information that's provided, and there's little clues. The Holmes Corporation, which creates the materials for SHRM, we're in partnership with SHRM, has a tendency to have a pathway of 4 or 5 steps from analysis or discovery to implementation to post-implementation in a process of doing almost anything, whether it's talent or performance management or employee relations, doing an investigation, etc. So look at the question and see if they're giving you information that's at the front end of a process. And then if your answers do not correlate to what you do during an analysis or discovery phase, if it doesn't correlate, then you know that those answers need to be tossed out. So it becomes learning how to focus on what's being told to you in the situation and then what's being asked of you in the question. So that's the second area. The third area is I'd say your ability to work with others to help you along the journey. Some individuals are able to study on their own, and they prefer not having the interference of having study buddies or study groups or Facebook groups or affiliation groups. I would say the majority of my students do better in small teams of 2 or 3 individuals, even 4 individuals. So when you start to get beyond 4, even with 4, sometimes there's too many voices in a study group. But if you have a good study partner or 2 study partners that you can trade off, doing things like the flashcards that are used in the SHRM materials, or just going back and forth and discussing and deconstructing information, my perspective is that's very helpful. So you have 3 things there. Number 1 is truly studying, and number 2 is understanding how to answer questions and deconstruct them, especially when you're not sure of the answer. The worst that happens is that you get 2 possible choices and now you're 50-50. And 50-50 is better than a 25%, a 1 in 4 of just taking a guess. And then the third is, how do you work best with playing with others, and what types of groups and services can you do it online? Can you do it in face-to-face groups? It all depends on logistics, demographics. Now, I would add a caveat. There's a lot of capabilities today with using online platforms such as Facebook or other types of collaborative social media where you can share information. And I always point people to affiliate groups for what they're studying for. I think that it's important. It's also important as a tip that many folks who have taken the test will post information for others to learn from post-test. So if you're in an affiliate group and somebody that you knew took the test, oftentimes they'll go back on, especially when they pass, they want to share with the world that, hey, I spent all this time and I did great and I passed the test. This is what I did to be successful.
Let's take a reset. This is Jessica Miller Merrill, and you are listening to the Workology podcast sponsored by Workology. And we're talking all about how to ace your HR certification exam. I just finished up sharing with you some just nuggets of wisdom when it comes to certification from Mark Fogel.
Are you tired of putting your professional development on the back burner? It's time for you to invest in yourself with Upskill HR by Workology. We're a membership community focused on personal development for HR. Gain access to our elite community, training, coaching, and events. Learn more at upskillhr.com.
I love Mark because he is no nonsense. And when it comes to support to achieve your personal and professional goals and dreams, you really need to surround yourself with people who are no bull and are going to give it to you straight. This is certainly what Mark is all about, and I love his candor. And that's what we really try to do at Workology too. We want to help you grow as HR leaders. And it's also what my next guest can provide you too. Adam Rosenfeld. He is a newly certified HR professional, and he recently took the exam and offers some really amazing insights on how to prepare for the exam, which you will see here in a minute. He's a human resource business partner from Austin, Texas. Yay, Austin. And since taking and passing his SHRM CP exam, Adam is a mentor to HR pros locally here in Austin and also serves as an instructor for SHRM Cert Prep courses too. I'm going to let Adam give you some insights on his recent experience with the SHRM certification exam and how the best way is to prepare for and ultimately pass that exam.
What do you wish that you would have known or spent more time on the exam?
The things I wish I had done differently is understanding things from a more conceptual way rather than just straight up studying definitions. So really understanding how everything connects and sort of how everything connects to one another, but also how what HR does or the actions that they take influence the organization as a whole.
And which exam did you study for?
So I did the SHRM CP.
When it comes to like the quiz questions, because we talked about those being helpful, walk us through like how students who are studying for this should leverage those questions.
The quiz questions from
Yeah, how they should learn from them, like
the learning system.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, some people, here's the thing, some people, they said memorize the quiz questions, and I wholeheartedly disagree with that way. I think the best way to go about it is like memorize the definitions, but look at how the quiz questions are written and see how they think about how they could be written differently to get either a different answer, but a similar concept, if that makes sense.
Any other advice? Like when you talked to the students at the SHRM Cert Prep, what advice did you give them beyond what we talked about?
Number one, I thought Seiler's 7 Princes is a great reference. Like when you're going through the answers, I think Seiler's 7 Princes is a great sort of reference guide to think about how to actually answer the questions. Because, with SHRM, it's not definition, it's do you know how to apply? And then do you know how to act more of as a business partner? Because that's really what SHRM wants you to do.
So not just regurgitation of terms, but like actual application in terms of.
It is so much about application than anything. Terms are important, but terms are important in terms of how do they apply to the overall thing.
Okay, so they're kind of more of a baseline starting point.
Yeah, it's a starting point. It's a starting like corporate social responsibility. Yes, know the definition, but know how it fits into an organization's greater strategy. Know how certain leadership styles, know how they might best be used, and the effects of them.
Yeah, full circle. I like it.
For me, working towards your HR certification starts with not only setting the goal to pass the exam, but creating a plan to work from to help you get there. I have a great free webinar you can watch that helps you work through a plan to make this happen. I'll link to it in the resources of the transcript of this podcast over on Workology, but you can also find it. It's called Insider Secrets: How to Ace Your HR Certification. Now, it's a 45-minute free video webinar presentation, and anyone can access it who wants to learn more about the strategies for success behind HR certification. It's called Insider Secrets: How to Ace Your HR Certification. You can access it at workolo.gy/insider secrets. So workolo.gy insider secrets. Just type that into the web, you'll get to the video, and you can watch it at your leisure. Most importantly, you need a plan to get you to your ultimate goal, which is passing your HR certification. Depending on the exam you pick, the pass rate varies, which is why I suggest creating at least a 12-week study plan that allows for 60 hours plus of study time. And this includes reviewing materials, using HR practice questions, and talking with others about HR topics and content you are learning about. In the transcript of this podcast, I will include some of my favorite resources to help you prepare and be successful in passing your HR certification exam. The test is tough, however, the reward is great, and I've seen HR leaders increase their salaries as much as 40% after passing the exam. I've had friends use their newfound HR certification to get promotions, new jobs, and even launch their own HR consultancy. The possibilities are endless, and I want to help you get there, which is the reason I'm so focused on certification and personal development for HR leaders with our different HR certification and support offerings. Let's make this year the year we increase HR certification pass rates to 50 or even 65 and 70%. Working together, I know we can make this happen, and let's help lift each other up in this amazing industry of powerful business leaders who specialize in human resource. Thank you for joining the Workology podcast, sponsored by Workology. This podcast is for the disruptive workplace leader who's tired of the status quo. This is Jessica Miller Merrill, and until next time, you can visit workology.com to listen to all our previous podcast episodes.